When I first started doing sex work, I worked in a dungeon as a dominatrix with two other women. Both were from Colombia. Rosa and Yamali. The dungeon was private, so anything went. Rosa and Yamali worked as submissives. They said they made more money that way. To make that money, though, they had sex with the clients. And when I say they had sex, I mean they did everything: oral, vaginal, anal. I'm not going to lie to you. As a newbie in the sex industry, this horrified me. I wanted to distance myself from these women as much as I could. I was a dome. I didn't have sex with my clients. In my sessions, I played a superior role to men. I tortured and humiliated them. But pleasure them in any way? Never. I'd never get down on my knees to service men like Rosa and Yamali did. The real issue was I had a great deal of internalized shame about sex work. I had internalized shame about being sexual as a woman at all. Though I had chosen to work as a dominatrix, there was still a part of me that believed it was wrong. Sex work was wrong, very wrong. It was gross and degrading to women. Therefore, when I encountered my two coworkers, who were very much engaging in an unadulterated form of prostitution each day on the job, I needed to draw a distinct line between us. I wasn't like Rosa and Yamali. I wasn't a whore. It would take years for me to grapple with my issues surrounding sex work. First, I had to permit myself to even explore my sexuality. Then I had to confront my conflicting feelings about sex work. This is the story of how I finally embraced my identity as a whore. As a young sex worker, I couldn't bear to self-identify as a prostitute. It's understandable why I would have an aversion to identifying as a whore. Calling a woman a whore is an insult. In fact, it's one of the worst things you can call a woman. Selling one's body for sex is taboo in most cultures. Bianca Stone, a sex-positive Bay Area sex worker, told Lauren Tanchum during an interview that becoming a sex worker meant committing an act of social death. That's a very good way to look at it, because if a woman is honest with the world about whoring herself, she'll very quickly find herself facing ostracization by most people. Therefore, to rationalize working in the sex industry as a young dome, I had to perform a lot of mental gymnastics to convince myself I was nothing like women like Rosa and Yamali. I wasn't a real prostitute. I was a dome. That was different. When Rosa said we were both whores, I flipped out. Rosa didn't see it this way though. She didn't view me as so different from her. As far as she was concerned, I was working at the dungeon, so we were the same. Whores. I remember going to get coffee at a nearby cafe on one of my breaks and Rosa came along. We sat at a table, sipping our cappuccinos while the barista who'd helped us had no idea what we did for money. That's when Rosa glanced up from her drink and said, "Look at us, a couple of whores having coffee together." I wanted to die. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Don't speak that word. No, not me. I wasn't a whore. I didn't fuck the clients. She was the whore. I was a nice girl from the suburbs who was just working as a dome to make extra money. I took this job because of the free time it gave me to concentrate on my creative projects. I didn't have to do this kind of work. I was just experimenting. I told Rosa I wasn't a whore because I only did dome work. In response, she just laughed. Whatever, she said. I thought I was too good for sex work. Yamali thought I was nuts, too. Why was I always complaining about the clients? Some guy asked to kiss my butt in session. Some guy wanted to play with his cock while he sucked my toes. Another guy asked me to touch his penis. I was always bitching about my disgusting clients in between my sessions. You should be happy you have a job, Yamali told me one day. We make a lot of money here. Neither Rosa nor Yamali could work legally in the States. They felt lucky to have their jobs. They had kids back in Colombia who lived with their mothers. They were wiring most of what they earned back home to their families. That was fine for them, but I wasn't like them. I came from a good family. I didn't have kids. I had a college education. We were nothing alike. However, the sense that I was indeed a prostitute kept gnawing at me. I couldn't stand it anymore. I felt revolted that I'd ever let myself stoop this low. I quit the dungeon, gave away my latex and whips, and settled down for a traditional life.